margarita. I need to go get my nap.
I would like to welcome the audience to the May 21st, 2019 Planning and Zoning Board meeting. Would you all please stand while Coach Williams says the invocation and pledge of allegiance.
Gracious Father in heaven, again we come thanking you for allowing us another blessed week and another blessed day. Thank you for your grace and your mercy. We ask for your presence in our meeting tonight, and we ask for blessing upon this board and also the staff. And we pray for those who come seeking our help tonight. We ask the Holy Spirit guide and lead us that we might do that which is pleasing in your sight. This we offer this night is our prayer. In the name of the Father.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Christie, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Art Little will be absent tonight, and Vice Chair Randy Armentor.
Here.
Ms. Latricia Cobb. Ms. Julia Dickerson will also be absent. Ms. Sharon Galicia. Here. Ms. Janelle Hyatt. Mr. Kyle Link.
Here.
Mr. Jake Porsche.
Here.
Mr. Gary Navarre.
Here.
Mr. Kirk Smith.
Here.
And Mr. LaSalle Williams.
Here.
This is an 11-member board. It will take a majority of those members present to grant or deny any request heard tonight. The chair will refrain from voting unless that vote might affect the outcome. The meeting will be conducted with me reading the request from the agenda. The planning staff will give a presentation and report their recommendations. If the applicant would like to add to the staff's presentation, or if someone from the audience has comments, please come to the microphone, state your name, address, and the nature of your request. All persons wishing to speak, other than the applicants, need to fill out a blue request to appear form located at the back of this room. The form must be given to a staff member prior to reading of the agenda item. As required by this board's bylaws, in all cases, the proponents will be limited to 10 minutes. Opponents will be granted 10 minutes as well, with each speaker allowed no more than 3 minutes. I recommend that a spokesperson be selected if there is a large group wanting to speak on the same agenda item. If 4 or more speaker request forms are submitted, the time allowed for individual speakers will be limited based upon the number of forms submitted. The chair has the right to limit speakers who present redundant information or personal attacks. The unique situations the chair may extend or the board may vote to extend the time allotted for speakers. After discussion, the board will vote on each request. I will announce the decision of the board after the vote. The exception and variance requests are final tonight. The road abandonment and rezoning cases will go before the police jury for final action on May 23rd, 2019 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is being filmed by the Calcasieu Parish Government Channel and can be viewed on Wednesday and Thursday following the meeting. For additional run dates, check the website at www.cppj.net. Channel 5 in Lake Charles, Sulphur, Moss Bluff, Westlake, Benton, DeQuincy, and Gillis. Channel 99 in Corliss and Grand Lake. Please either turn off or silence all electronic devices. Take appropriate action to approve the minutes of the March 19, 2019 and April 15, 2019 Planning and Zoning meetings. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Navarre, second by Ms. Hyatt. All in favor? State aye. Opposed? Minutes approved. Take appropriate action on AB-04190009, a request by Westlake Petrochemicals, LLC, to abandon and revoke the original dedication of the east 910 feet of Boyd Landry Road at 2288 Boyd Landry Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Navarre, second by Coach Williams. Ms. Wallace.
This road is located south of Sulphur. The applicant owns the property on both sides of the portion proposed for abandonment. Should the request be approved, the applicant plans to utilize the existing roadway for a secondary access to the company's new administrative offices. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add to the presentation?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Supposed to do that. Item number 7, take appropriate action on VAR-0319-0079, a request by George Seeley for a variance to allow a dwelling with less than required public road frontage, required 125 feet, requesting 0 feet, at 6023 Cormier Cemetery Road in Ward 7. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Toomey area and encompasses 2 acres of agricultural zone land. Currently on the property is the applicant's home. He would like approval to allow his son to locate a second manufactured home on the property. We have not received any written opposition to this request. And because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided the director may authorize adjustments to plans in light of technical or engineering considerations, and that the manufactured home be skirted prior to the utilities being connected.
Would the applicant like to add anything to the staff's presentation? Okay. Does the board have any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item number 8, take appropriate action on VAR 0419-0082, a request by LOC Bulk Plant Property LLC for a variance to increase driveway width requirements, allowed 36 feet, requesting 40 feet, and to decrease driveway spacing, required 25 feet, requesting 22.5 feet, in the 500 block of Dennis Road in Ward 4. I will entertain a motion for approval.
Second.
A motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Mr. Porsche. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located south of Sulphur and encompasses 3/4 of an acre of heavy industrial zone land. Last year, the board and police jury approved a request to rezone the land to allow petroleum storage. In the course of permitting the new facility, it was found these 2 variances were needed to allow the project to move forward as planned. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add to staff's presentation? Okay. Does the board have any questions or comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Okay, item number 9. Take appropriate action on VAR-0419-0087, a request by Mark Stewart Jr. for a variance to decrease the side and rear yard setbacks for a pond. Required 50 feet, requesting 20 feet, at 7847 Gossett Road in Ward 3. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Navarre, second by Ms. Cobb. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located south of Lake Charles and encompasses 2¼ acres of agricultural zone land. The applicant recently purchased the land, and his intent is to excavate a pond on the east side of the property and utilize the materials to elevate his house pad. We have not received any written opposition to this request. And because there is no evidence of a hardship, the staff recommends that the request be denied. Should the board grant the request, the staff recommends the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided the director may authorize adjustments, that the development adhere to stormwater best management practices, and that obstructing the flow of surface water is prohibited.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to staff's presentation?
Yes, sir, I do.
Please step up to the mic, state your name and address.
Hey guys, how are y'all? My name's Mark Stewart. I currently live at 3814 Yale Street in Lake Charles, Louisiana. Good to speak. Okay. All right, guys, I brought pictures so we could all have a look here. This is my subdivision plat. When I applied for this variance, they combined oh, I'm sorry.
It's recorded, maybe I'll pick you up.
Okay. Yes, sir. So they combine properties such as mine with just residential ponds used for dirt for my house pad into industrial size dirt pits called, dirt pits. I'm sorry, I moved again. As you can see, this is 1,900 feet by 1,000 feet at its widest point. I can pass this around if you'd like to see it. This is just south of my home location. That is on Lincoln Road and Lake Street. And what the purpose of these pits are is these guys are selling for profit to corporations, subdivision builders, things like that. The slopes are very, very deep, and the angles are very, very sharp. So an email I've gotten back and forth from the planning department is that's why this rule was made in the first place, to prevent things like the picture you're seeing now, and I'm sure you've all driven beside them, from caving in onto people's properties. And I'm all for these rules. If I lived next to a dirt pit, I would want 50 foot from it also. So I completely understand that rule. But that is not what I'm trying to do here on my 2 acres of land. My pond here is showing the 20-foot variance. As you can see, it is a mirror image almost of my neighbor's pond. Most people on my subdivision have ponds. They're usually 5 foot off. There used to not be a rule, I understand that, but they're very, very close to the property lines, and there's been no sort of erosion, no sort of issue between neighbors, and I'm just looking to do the same sort of thing to my pond. I just want to use it to build my house pad, to build my house, to offset a few costs. Yes, sir.
Will any dirt be sold out of that?
No, sir.
It's all going right there on that piece of property?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm just looking to push my pond as far back as possible. I want to use my land the best that I can. I don't want to waste it. I don't want to put a pond right in the middle of it. That's, I think it's a rare find in South Lake Charles to have 2 acres, from what I've seen. And I've lived there through school. I went to Barb High School, lived there through college. And, it's where I want to live. And 2 acres is pretty hard to come by. So when I found it, me and my wife, we really wanted to jump all over it. So after we did some research, looked on Google Earth, research these ponds. All these guys use this to build up their house pads. So I said, hey, man, that's a no-brainer. I got the dirt right here. Let's build a house. There's other situations when the planning department talked about erosion issues and what my pond might do being 20 foot instead of 50 foot. I do have a couple examples here that are going on currently. This here is on Nelson Road. This is a new hospital being built. Yes, sir. I went and measured it myself the other day. It's about 30 foot from Nelson Road. As you can see, it's a very, very steep incline. That thing's going to see a lot more water than my 100 by 160 pond is ever going to see. To me, it would be more of an erosion issue than mine. There's also another one being built in a subdivision just south, right off Big Lake Road. You would go south on Big Lake, then go east. Yes, sir.
Are you in a flood zone?
Yes, sir. I'm in an AE flood zone. My property sits about 6 foot in height, so I've got to build up to 11 feet. I've already gotten my elevation certificate. It's marked where I have to build up to. So I'm assuming I've got to dig down 2 foot also to get to clay. So that puts me coming up around 7 foot total to be at the parish guidelines. So what I wanted to do is give an illustration of what my property would look like with the current regulations. As you can see here, I've got my house, my proposed shop, and the pond being 50 foot from the property line. As you can see, the pond would extend a large distance into my property, leaving me a mere 53 foot away from my house. I've got about 100 by 100 house pad, not including the sloping I need to come down from that 11 foot, which is pretty drastic. I got to come down, it takes it about 15 or 20 feet to come down. So that is not including skirting there. I would also like a 60 by 40 shop. Now this is just proposed in this picture because if I actually drew the entire shop, it would end up in the pond. I only have 53 foot left. This is 60 feet, so I'd have to curve that pond around. This is actually utilizing the entire 50 feet that I'm allowed on each side to really get all the dirt I need out of it. The inner ring that you're seeing is a 10-foot slow sloping down in my pond. I don't want to just drop it down to 15 foot or wherever I'm trying to get my clay. A safety feature for me also, and erosion, so my pond won't go anywhere. My wife is now pregnant with our firstborn child, so I want safety for him. If I turn my back for a minute, I don't want him running off in the pond, 15 foot down. It kind of gives me a little bit of barrier. So, yes, sir, if you want to. After me and my dirt man have talked, we're going to try to get down to 15 foot on the pond.
You're doing a good job, Wes.
I'm best guess of my scenario, I'm going to need anywhere from 3,500 to 4,500 cubic yards of dirt. And that's mostly clay to build up my house pad, shop pads, about 200 foot of driveway, just my best guess and his best guess. Now, I made the pond that big. Why did you make it that big? I want to make sure the pond had enough size to get enough dirt where I didn't have to buy any dirt. That's very expensive these days. And so I don't really actually think I'm going to get to 15 foot. I think it's going to be more like 10 or 11 feet. Where I'm at, it's going to start hitting sand in the water table. And if I have to take 2 foot off to hit clay, I'm left with 9 foot of clay. So I didn't want to propose something and all of a sudden come short. So this would give me all the dirt I need to build my house and do what I need to do, slope my property. I also have another one of my proposed variants. Sorry, I'm working you today.
He's earning his money today.
So that's with the 20-foot variance. I use the same size pond, a 160 by 100. But this, I get to utilize the back portion on property that you saw with the subdivision plat, and I get to push it to the back. It gives me about 153 feet between the pond and my house, which is, quite a large buffer that I would like to have. A pond is beautiful, sitting on your back porch looking at it, but as soon as I dig the dirt out of it and it fills with water, its value is done. The value's in the land. The value, that's why we want to be in South Lake Charles. I've lived there a lot of my life, and that's what we want. We want the yard to play in. We want the yard put a swing set in. We want a yard, play baseball in as my child, or hopefully children get older, and maybe a pool for the wife if she's good enough. So, again, as you can see.
Or you just screwed up.
2 years.
Congratulations. Yeah.
So.
And this is all televised and recorded.
She can rewatch it Wednesday. We actually own some property in Homewood. We had 5 acres before this. That's plenty of things where I can do what I want to do. It was a little bit out of town, a little bit of a drive, but we could build the house we wanted and have a little bit of acreage, but really we wanted to be in South Lake Charles. So when this 2 acres came up, it was a little more expensive than what we wanted, but after seeing everybody's pond, hey, I can dig the dirt, I can do what I want. Cool, let's build up, we can get there. And that's what we wanted for our family. And another option, somebody would say, hey, why don't you just buy the dirt, Mark? Build it up that way. Well, at dirt being $110 to $120 a load, I'm gonna need anywhere from 300 to 350 loads of dirt. That's about $35,000 or $40,000.
Yeah.
It's pretty steep, because then I gotta pay a guy to spread it. So now you're talking dirt prices being $40,000 to $70,000. And I haven't even put a frame on the ground yet. So that's just, you know, my property price being 75, dirt being 75. Gotcha. I'm finishing up. That's 150,000 hadn't even built yet. And that's just too steep for me. When I have the property available to push the pond back for safety and do what I need to do at the land. So guys, I appreciate your time, and I hope you consider my proposal. We all get a win in this situation. The parish gets a win. I'm not building on a property line. I'm not, you know, burdening my neighbor's property. I've talked to both of them, and they are in agreement. They don't mind it. I do have their names and numbers if anyone would like to talk to them. And I did also talk to a parish engineer, Mr. Gregory LaFleur. He was in agreement also with the 20-foot. He's actually the one that proposed it. I wanted 10. He said 20. So that's where I came up with the number. Thank you very much.
Okay, does the board have any questions? Mr.
Question
Porcher.
for the staff. When did the ordinance change?
In January.
Okay, what was it previously? Now it's 50 feet. What was it previously?
For borrow pits, it was 50 feet, but we didn't have a setback in the ordinance. Our policy was 50 foot for everything, but there was nothing in the ordinance until January for ponds.
Is there anything in the permitting process to an oversight for a private pond to make sure that it's sloped from the sides correctly, even the type of fill that's done? Like the example on Nelson Road, that's a storm retention pond that's engineered in certain type of fill to prevent against erosion, and it's sloped accordingly. Is it just
No.
pretty much
The
dig a pond?
reason why retention ponds are excluded from the 50-foot setback
Sure.
is because they are designed in such a fashion to
Right.
have berming and slopes
Right.
and
Correct, right.
you know,
And that's what I'm
erosion
saying.
prevention
So
and things
there's
like
no
that.
oversight as far as inspectors
Right.
making sure it's sloped.
There's no slope requirements. There's nothing.
My concern would be, 20 feet initially, and then 5 years, maybe 10, just if it's a hard edge.
And
But
I think that in his neighborhood, if we could get the aerial photo back up, there's a couple ponds that are starting to encroach on the property line that are good examples why we needed to put a more
Sure.
stringent regulation in place.
Right.
And
yeah,
Well, I think
that's the only
after that
question I have.
statement he made, we need to pass this so he don't get in no trouble.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any questions or?
Mr. Chair, if I could just point out that your variances are supposed to be based upon hardships and situations that are hard to overcome, but the applicant in this case, he even presented to you alternative scenarios. And he doesn't want to do those because it's his preference not to. There's no hardship in this case. The police jury did pass this regulation in January at your recommendation. It passed unanimously here at the board. And you would be setting a precedent for a number of other properties in that area to come and request the same variance and receive the same approval if you do approve this, just because he wants to do
Well-
it this way.
Two things. We approved what y'all brought us,
Yes.
okay? As a group, we approved. But that's why we're here, to make variances. You said it's not a hardship. I think $60,000, $70,000 worth of dirt when you're trying to build a house, I think that could prevent somebody from building a house.
I
That would be a
understand that,
hardship in my
but he
opinion.
showed you an alternative design where
And
he
it
could
would be
do
way
it.
more money out of his pocket.
No, he showed you an alternative design where it would just be closer to his house. But it is his preference to be further from his house, and that's not a hardship.
The setbacks for the houses, 20 feet?
In this zoning, it's probably between 20 and 30.
Okay.
For my
It's
subdivision.
So this
it's-
would be,
But there may be subdivision
Right.
restrictions that
right,
require.
so
Yes,
this
there's
would be
restrictions.
putting if someone else
I
would
believe
be
it's around
putting
80
a home next door to his pond, he would be having a pond closer to his neighbor's house than he would have to his own house, is what he would
Potentially, yes.
potentially be doing. He's encroaching in the easements of
He's
what's
getting
going
closer
on
to
right now
his
to his neighbors simply
property
because
line
of,
than to his own house.
right.
Yes.
Any other questions or concerns by the board? Seeing none, do we want a roll call vote? Ms. Christie?
Mr. Smith?
No.
Mr. Navarro?
Yes.
Ms. Galicia?
Yes.
Mr. Link?
Yes.
Ms. Cobb? Yes. Mr. Porsche?
No.
Mr. Williams?
Yeah.
Ms. Hyatt? Yes. 6 for and 2 against.
Motion carries. Item number
Excuse me,
10.
Mr. Chairman. Now, this will go in front of the police jury Thursday night? No, it doesn't, okay. Good.
All in? Item number 10, take appropriate action on EX 0419-0049, a request by Linda Connor for an exception to allow residential development, manufactured home at 7220 Vincent Reed Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located south of Lake Charles and encompasses 1.5 acres of single-family residential zone land. Currently on the property is the applicant's home. She would like to place a manufactured home on the property to serve as her daughter's residence. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the Division of Planning and Development, provided that the director or designee may authorize adjustments to the site plan in light of technical or engineering considerations, and that the manufactured home be skirted prior to the utilities being connected.
Thank you. Would the applicant like to add anything? Nothing at this time? Does the board have any concerns or questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item number 11, take appropriate action on EX 0419-0050, a request by Alan Abear for an exception to allow a 3-year extension of an existing borrow pit at 2525 Toomey Road in Ward 7. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Coach Williams. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Toomey area and encompasses 148 acres of agricultural and commercial zone land. In 2015, the board approved a 55-acre borrow pit here. A condition of the approval was that the excavation was to be completed within 3 years. The excavation has not been completed due to the time required to construct the access road and the amount of rain that we've received recently. The applicant is requesting another 3-year period for excavation and will now limit the pit size to 10 acres. We have not received any written opposition to this request. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26-1221F4 of the Parish Code of Ordinances, and that the bond certificate remain active throughout the duration of the excavation.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add to staff's presentation? No. Board have any concerns or questions? Comments? Seeing none, we call for a vote. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item number 12, Take appropriate action on EX-0419-0051, a request by Gary Poole for an exception to allow residential development manufactured home in the 1900 block of Daly Road in Ward 4. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Navarre.
Second.
Second by Ms. Galicia. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in Carlos and encompasses nearly 1 acre of single-family residential zone land. The applicant would like to place a manufactured home on the land to serve as his daughter's residence. The daughter plans to construct a home at this location in the future, but there is no clear timetable at this point. In 2013, a similar request was granted across the street. In that approval, the board placed a condition that the exception be for 2 years. We have not received any written opposition to this request. Because a similar request was granted in the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, that the manufactured home be skirted prior to the utilities being connected, and upon zoning approval for the manufactured home, the exception is for 2 years.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Would the applicant like to add anything to staff's presentation? Thank you. Any questions, concerns, comments from the board? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item number 13. Take appropriate action on EX-0419-0052, a request by Trace Lynn for an exception to allow a burrow pit, 30 acres in the 4300 block of Highway 90 West in Ward 7. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyde. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in the Vinton area and encompasses 400 acres of agricultural land. The applicant would like to excavate a 30-acre burrow pit. Upon completion, the pond will be stocked and used for personal use. We have not received any written opposition to this request. Because minimal impacts are to be expected, the staff recommends the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development must be in accordance with Section 26122-1F4 of the Parish Code, that the approval is subject to conditions imposed by the Division of Engineering, including but not limited to hauling routes and bonding, that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering, and that a letter of no objection from applicable gravity drainage district be provided prior to issuance of the development permit.
Thank you. Does the applicant have anything to add to staff's recommendation? No? Thank you. Does the board have any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item number 14, take appropriate action on RZ-0319-0127, a request by Jennifer Thompson to rezone from mixed residential to recreational vehicle park to allow a recreational vehicle park 3 spaces at 4665 Evangeline Highway in Ward 5. I'll entertain a motion for approval with conditions.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Navarre,
Second.
second by Mr. Ling. Ms. Wallace.
This property is in the Starks area and encompasses 1/3 of an acre of mixed residential zoning. The applicant would like to develop a 3-space RV park at this location. If the property is rezoned by the police jury, the applicant will come before you again next month to request a variance on the required lot square footage. The requirement is 2 acres, and on the required 20-foot buffer area, the applicant is requesting a reduction to 13.5 feet. We have not received any written opposition to this request. Because the zoning is not consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be denied. Should the board grant the request, the staff recommends the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that RV park model types are prohibited, that screening must be provided along the east, west, and south property lines in accordance with Section 2650 of the Parish Code prior to any final electrical approvals, that solid waste disposal must be privately funded, and that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to staff's presentation? Please come forward, step up to the podium, state your name and address, please.
Jennifer Thompson. My address is 4611 Berry Street.
Thank you.
And as of now, there are no approved spots in Starks, Louisiana for recreational vehicles. And I think it would add to, it would help Starks if there were, with our festival, with the casino that we have. It's only 3, but I don't see, there's no place in Starks for a recreational vehicle. So I think we should at least have a couple. I don't see where a couple is gonna hurt. I'm not a public speaker.
You're doing well. You're doing excellent. Thank
That's
you.
about all I can say. Thank you.
Thank you. Does we have any questions, concerns, or comments from the board?
I got a question to staff. In the area, say consistent to the character, in the area that she wants to put this park, what kind of homes we have there? It's not consistent with,
Well, there's mainly single-family homes. It's a small town, rural sort of area, but there's definitely not much density. You might see a house sitting on 2 lots or a manufactured home on 1 lot. You certainly don't see 3 units on 1 lot.
One thing that I forgot to
Well,
say.
we're going to give you an opportunity in a minute. Thank you. You can
Okay.
stand right there. We'll give you an opportunity in 1 minute. Is that all, Coach Williams?
thank you.
Does the board have any other questions, concerns? Ms. Galicia?
Is that correct? There are no RV parks in Starks?
On Sand Pit Road, I show that we permitted 20 lots in 2018. And I know that the board had to take action on that. I believe that the overall request was over 100 units. So he's developing them in phases, but there are 20 units that are permitted now.
Just a
Forte.
comment, to me, it appears a classic case of spot zoning with the rural area. And just always concerned about the precedent that we set in every decision we make.
Other board members have any comments or questions? Ms.
One more.
Galicia?
She could just put 1 RV there if she wanted to, though, right?
No.
No, mixed residential does not allow for that. She put 1 mobile home.
Right, 1 mobile home, yes. She could even put 1 duplex.
Okay, just on RV.
Ms. Thompson? You
Yes,
have another
I forgot to mention that the land right next to me, you can see in the picture, yes, right there, nope, yes, is being cleared for a housing subdivision or whatnot, and which is good for the community and everything else, but it's still, there's no RV things in Starks anywhere. So that would be right next to me, and further on down the street is a abandoned Catholic church and a flea market. On this side of the road are a few houses.
Thank you. Any other concerns, questions, comments? Seeing none, we'll call for a roll call vote.
Mr. Lee?
No.
Mr. Smith?
No.
Mr. Forshee?
No.
Cobb? Mr. Williams? Ms. Hyatt?
Motion fails. Item number 15. Take appropriate action on RZ-0419-0129, a request by Painter Properties LLC to rezone from mixed residential R2 to general commercial C3 to allow commercial development parking lot at 428 East Abear Road in Ward 3. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located south of Lake Charles and encompasses 1.5 acres of land. The applicant is currently constructing a fitness gym facility on neighboring commercial property. He would like to rezone this property to allow for additional parking spaces to serve the facility. We have not received any written opposition to this request. And because the development is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file, provided the director may authorize adjustments, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion onto surrounding properties, that to the maximum extent possible, natural screening be maintained along the south property line, that the development adhere to stormwater best management practices, and that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to the staff's presentation? None. Does the board have any comments, questions, concerns? Seeing none, we'll call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. That was item number 16, right?
That was 15, I believe.
That was 15?
Yep.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry. I lost track. So we're on item number 16 right now. Okay, take appropriate action on RZ-0419-0130, request by TKN Properties LLC to rezone from mixed residential R2 to multifamily residential RM to allow multifamily residential development, 11 duplexes at 268 Swallow Lane in Ward 1. I will entertain a motion for approval with conditions.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Navarre, second by Coach Williams. Ms. Wallace.
This property is located in Moss Bluff and encompasses 1.5 acres. Currently on the property are duplexes that were constructed in 2013 after the board approved a variance to allow the density to exceed the maximum. At this time, the applicant would like to add 3 additional duplexes. If the rezoning is approved by the police jury, the applicant will come before you again next month to request another variance to exceed the maximum density. In this zoning, 5 duplexes would be allowed. In 2012, the board approved construction of 8 duplexes. To add more units, the board would need to approve next month's request as well. We have not received any written opposition to this request, and because the proposed zoning is consistent with the character of the area, the staff recommends that the request be granted with the following conditions: that the development adhere to the site plan on file with the division, provided the director may authorize adjustments, that all exterior lighting must be oriented inward toward the development to minimize intrusion, that the development adhere to stormwater best management practices, and that a runoff management plan will be required unless appropriate waiver is granted by the Division of Engineering.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Does the applicant have anything to add to staff's presentation?
Name is Tan Norwood. I live at 885 Bow Avenue. I just wanted to say that the lighting that the neighbors didn't like when I put in the other duplexes, I paid for all the lighting and lit it up for the neighbors. I paid to upgrade all the electrical. Then the water was a little weak for them, so I paid to upgrade all the water lines for them. I worked with them on the roads, and I just wanted to keep in mind that everything that owns Swallow Street is rental properties. There's not but 2 homeowners there, and neither one of them have any problem with me at all. Everybody on that street is rental properties.
Thank you, Mr. Norwood.
Thank you.
Does the board have any questions, concerns, comments? Mr. Smith? No. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought I seen you. You were stretching. Sorry. Seeing none, we'll call for a roll call vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item number 17, take appropriate action on a request by the Calcasieu Parish Planning Division of Planning and Development on a proposed revision to Chapter 26 of the Code of Ordinances of Calcasieu Parish, Louisiana, relative to floodplain management. We do a motion, Ms. Wallace?
Can we do a motion?
We just need the motion on it? Y'all don't need to speak on it?
I'll speak after you do the
Okay.
motion, if that's all
Okay.
right.
A motion for approval? Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyatt. Ms. Wallace?
The proposed amendment is on your tablets. I'd like to provide a brief summary just to show you. It's just changing one paragraph to another. But currently, the parish code states that the latest adopted version of FEMA's flood insurance study and accompanying maps are declared to be a part of the code, together with any revisions issued by FEMA. When the staff asked the police jury to adopt this language in 2012, we felt the language was sufficient to automatically make future FEMA studies and map revisions a part of the code. With this being the first revision since 2012, we have come to find that the existing code is not sufficient from FEMA's perspective. As a result, we are requesting the police jury formally adopt the specific wording provided by FEMA. This wording contains the effective date of the most recent revision, which is May 16, 2019, and adds that future revisions are declared to be a part of the ordinance. We believe this ordinance change will eliminate the need to come before the board and the police jury with every modification made by FEMA from here on. And we do have our floodplain manager here tonight, so the staff would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Ms. Wallace. Do we have any questions by the board? Concerns, comments? Seeing none, we can go ahead and call for a vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item number 18. Next item on the agenda is to advise that the police jury took the following action on April 17, 2019 with reference to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Board from the April 15, 2019 meeting. AMAK, Cormier Road, Planning and Zoning denied, police jury overturned. George Pauley, Vincent Drive, Planning and Zoning approved, police jury upheld. Red Rosal Enterprises, Tallow Road, police jury approved, Planning and Zoning upheld. Item number 19, there's no vote needed for that, right? Okay, item number 19, the next item on the agenda to advise that the next regular scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting will be held on Tuesday, June 18, 2019 in the police jury meeting room. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Ms. Cobb, second by Ms. Hyde. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Meeting adjourned.